Back to it. Like I said, I want to talk about Deep of Night. Now, I don't know how many people have been playing Deep of Night. I've been playing Deep of Night since it came out last Thursday, and I've been having an absolute blast. Deep of Night is actually really, really fun for me. It is something that I've wanted because once you get through normal mode and, you know, eventually start going into the Everdark Sovereigns, which was an increase in difficulty in Nightreign, you know, you start craving something more. You're like, oh man, I wish it was a little bit more challenging, right? And so that is kind of like what Deep of Night is doing. They're bringing an additional challenge. Supposedly the intention is that things are going to get harder. Now, in their announcement video, they talk about like these red monsters, and red monsters are going to be really harder. But not just red monsters. Everything is harder. So as you start going deeper, so the way that it goes is there's a depth system. So you're going to be at depth 1. And then after you do, I think you have to win 5 matches. So if you win 5 matches in a row, you go to depth 2. Now the thing is, the information that I have from playing with my friends is weird. So for instance, when I was playing with Wada, and you guys can check the live streams, what would usually happen is whenever we would win a match, we would get 200 points. In order to get to depth 2, you need to get 1,000 points. But what happened was, when we were playing with Ark was getting 400 points. And none of us know why. So we can't really understand the reason why Ark was getting more points. Probably because he makes videos about anime waifus. I kind of think that makes sense, right? If you make videos about anime waifus, you should get more depth points in Deep of Night. I think that's just like a 1-to-1 correlation, right? I think that's fair. But, you know, it is what it is. Me, Wada, and Ark played a bunch of it. Ark leveled up faster than we did, but we all ended up getting to depth 2. We also played with Ketnet, who's in chat right now. He was depth 1, but when he would join us, he would get depth 2. I don't know exactly how many points he was getting. But, you know, everybody was kind of like leveling up, and eventually we got to depth 2. Now, in depth 2, the health of all the enemies is significantly increased. Not just red enemies, all the enemies. I've noticed this instantly because of the amount of damage that the Guardian Whirlwind does on these starter camps. So like the very first camp that you drop in on, and usually I'd almost one-shot most of the monsters there. At depth 2, I'm dealing like sometimes a little bit more than half their health, depending on, now I have extended Whirlwind, so usually I can kill them with 1 Whirlwind, but you know, I used to be able to do that without needing the extended Whirlwind skill. So basically, the depths, what it forces is it forces you to really optimize way more. So without Deep of Night, I would argue that you can do just about anything in Nightreign, with the exception of maybe Everdarks. But all of the normal content you can kind of like go and do, and you can just do it even without any relics. It's going to be probably challenging, but you can probably get away doing most content without even having relics, even with randoms. This is after you get used to how the game works, because you gain experience, you understand how stuff works, and you just kind of like, you know, you go in there and you start killing stuff and it's fine. So with Deep of Night, everything gets harder, which is cool in my book. You get 3 more relic slots to offset this difficulty. These relic slots can only be filled with relics that you get from doing Deep of Night, but you can also gamble these relics. So these have been added to the little vendor back at Nighthold. So you can gamble them. I think it's 1,800 for each relic. And you can do like 10 at a time, and then you can get relics, but it's completely random. So herein lies one of the criticisms that I have that I will talk about a little bit later, but basically, you know, you get these new relics from doing the thing, and then you power yourself up to kind of like offset the increased difficulty that this mode offers you, which to me, good thing. Now, the new relics also come with negative effects, which sometimes they can be so bad that they completely obliterate the use of you even slotting in the relic. So that's something to keep in mind. You know, even if you get like a new relic that has like something really good for your character, you have to make sure that the negative effect that comes with that relic is not completely offsetting the good, or just being like so detrimental that you don't really want to use it. Besides you getting negative effects on relics, certain items in the game now can also have negative effects. That will be something that you'll want to check. Trust me, you do not want to be caught off guard picking up random items off the ground, and then suddenly you're navigating through the rain, and you realize, oh, I have a debuff from an item that says that I take 100% more damage from rain. And then you're like, why is the rain hurting so much? So these are some of the things that can happen with the negative effects. Now, on top of it, like I've already mentioned, there's also red enemies and bosses. And if you get a red enemy, there's a higher chance of him dropping like some of the new weapons that are red weapons that are considered almost on legendary status, but they'll have like something really good, and then they'll have something really bad. Usually, sometimes they'll have like something mediocre and something really bad. But yeah, you get these red weapons that can, can give you like some decent bonuses. They've also added some new modifiers that I hadn't really seen before. I don't think they've talked too much about these, but there's like some interesting things. Like, for instance, you have one where if you do a critical attack, then you will proc bleed on the monster, and then your weapon gains bleed for a little bit of time. That one's cool. I picked up another one the other day where charged attacks would cause a phantom to attack. Picked up another one which was on this fist, which charge attacks would cause like holy explosions on the enemies. So there's like some really cool little modifiers that you can get here and there for different weapons that make things a little more interesting as well. A little bit of damage procs, a little bit of utility, a couple of interesting things. So they're adding basically even more randomness into the whole experience, which as far as I'm concerned, that's a good thing. Like I said, these red enemies are going to be very challenging, and if you're already fighting stuff that is challenging and it happens to be red, you really want to reconsider. So to give you guys an idea, if you are level 2, and let's say you go to one of those big church things, where, the ones where you have like the Colossal Guardian, right? You go to one of those, and the Colossal Guardian happens to be red. You might think to yourself, this ain't a problem. That very much can become a problem because that Guardian can slap you silly, okay? That Guardian can clap your cheeks faster than you can say ouch, okay? That's what can happen. We had a couple of those. We've had some situations where certain monsters will just straight up one-shot all of us. And like I said, it's not just red monsters. Normal monsters can surprise you as well. Just yesterday, I was playing with Wada and Ark, and at one point, we were fighting one of those dragon riding dudes. The ones on the horse, the sentinels, I forget. The dragon sentinel, whatever, on the horse. And at one point, he just goes and he does like his little side swipe attack. We were level 9, so we were pushing it a little bit. Level 9, depth 2, going for Draconic Sentinel. Maybe not the best idea, but we were like, yeah, no, we go. And he definitely showed us that like, no. He just went like this. Killed all 3 of us at the same damn time. I was like, oh, damn. That wasn't even one of his hardest hitting moves. One shot at everyone. I was like, oh, all right. That's some fun times up in there. So yeah, things are more challenging. The bosses themselves can also be red, like I've already mentioned, in some situations, which makes for interesting things. I still want to fight a red ball-bearing hunter. I think that will be a very interesting experience, but I haven't really done it yet because the few times that bastard spawned, I was like level 7, and you're already not fighting, ball-bearing hunter at the bottom of castle if you're only level 7, let alone if you're depths 2, let alone if you're depths 2 and it's red like, look, you can see him right now on screen. Look at him. You guys saw him. Look at him. He's right there. Look at him. He knew I was talking about him. That's the best part. He knew. He was like, hey, did you call? I heard you were talking about me. Oh, man. I swear to God, I didn't plan that, okay? It just happened. This is a video that's playing in the background. It just happened. This, by the way, is a match that I did with randoms. This was in depth 1. I've been testing Guardian because I know that I've been saying a lot of not colorful, not like super nasty things, but I've been saying some very frustrating things about Guardian when it comes to Deep of Night because Guardian just feels very, very, very underpowered due to the fact that it's very hard to control whether or not you have aggro, but I've still swapped some stuff around on him, optimized him a lot more, And I can kind of like pull through Depths 2 with Guardian, but I still feel like Raider overall is a much better choice. But you know, I love my Birdman. I think Birdman is the best, so we're still playing Birdman. Anyways, another really interesting thing that can happen in Deep of Night is you might go through the whole thing. For starters, you don't get to choose which Night Lord you're going for in Deep of Night. It's completely random. But you might be going through the whole thing, and you're like, you know, you see in there on your list, like, for instance, in our case, it was it Sentinel Pest? Yeah, I think it was Sentinel Pest. Sentient Pest. So we're doing Sentient Pest. It just says on the map, you're doing Sentient Pest. And we get there, and the game just goes like, surprise! It's actually Everdark Sentient Pest. And we were like, oh, that's great. So we got completely obliterated. Like there wasn't even a chance. But this is where we start getting on to some of the complaints that I personally have with Deep of Night. So just to make it perfectly clear, I absolutely love Deep of Night. Deep of Night has been, has greatly increased my enjoyment of Nightreign because it's harder. And you want to do harder things to the point where I kind of feel like it's even more hard if you're doing like solos or duos. Like me and Wada usually would do duos just about anything before Deep of Night. Wouldn't really be a problem. Now doing duos is a serious challenge. So usually we're trying to do it mostly with trios. But I personally like that. Like I've always said since the beginning, I wish they would just balance the game for 3 players and just have it be for 3 players and the other modes is whatever. And I kind of feel like that's almost what Deep of Night is, because you can still do it with duos, but I find it to be way harder than doing it with trios. Like, it gets really challenging. So that to me it reminded me a little bit of GU, because like, for instance, in GU, you would very rarely catch me going into G rank solo, because it was going to take a very long time to kill anything, because I'm playing Gunlance and, whatever. So it would take a long time to kill stuff. So usually I would play with Wada and Kegrin because that would make the most sense. Whereas in most other Monster Hunters, like I'm usually playing solo, because if I bring 2 more people in, especially like Wada or Kegrin or people that know what they're doing, the challenge is just not going to be there. So the fact that this mode seems like it's more tuned for having 3 players that kind of know what they're doing, and I like that. I like that aspect of this mode. It feels good to play. But so, let's talk about my complaints. Shifting Earths. Where are my shifting Earths, bro? It was funny because I think that if you go on to the very first live stream that I did of Deep of Night, I get a bunch of shifting Earths, like right at the beginning, and those were the only ones. I pretty much haven't gotten shifting Earths since. It's like every time I go into a match, and I've done quite a few of them, every time I go into a match, shifting Earth where? There is no shifting Earth. There's nothing. You get nothing, okay? You get your bog standard map every time, and that's what you get. And it is really, really weird to me that, with all of this added randomness that you've added, we don't get more shifting Earths. We should definitely get more shifting Earths. Now, I'm not saying I want to control it like you can do a normal Nightreign. That's not the point. But I kind of feel like every 5 matches, 3 of them should be 1 shifting Earth. Only 2 of them should be standard map. Like, I don't care what shifting Earth it is, any shifting Earth. Because shifting Earth is just fun to have a shifting Earth event, and you can kind of like plan around it, and it's maybe the numbers would need to be skewed. Like maybe you could do like, okay, out of 5, 2 of them are shifting Earths or whatever. To me, I think out of 5, 3 should be shifting Earths minimum. But right now, that is not happening at all. Like I said, I don't know exactly how many matches I've done. Probably somewhere in, I guess in the grand scheme of things, compared to some of the more hardcore players, maybe I didn't do that many. I'm estimating like, I don't know, maybe 30 matches that I've done in Deep of Night so far, because I've also been busy doing other content stuff. But out of those 30 matches, I maybe have gotten 3 shifting Earth events. Actually, I don't even think it's 3. I think it's 2. So it's like out of 30 getting 2 shifting Earths, it's like, come on, man. We need more shifting Earths. And then the other thing is, I think it's great that, we're getting 3 new relic slots. I think that's fantastic. I think it's fun to kind of like try to min-max your character, do all of that stuff. But I think that due to the significant increase in difficulty, I think we might need a little bit more control over the relics that we are getting. Now, I'm not saying I need 100% determinism on the relic that I'm getting, but like at a certain point, your relics are going to gauge your progress. Now, I've already heard that apparently there's people cheating in relics and doing all of these things, which I think is kind of lame. It is what it is. People are going to do what people are going to do. I think that's pretty lame if you're cheating in relics. But I can understand why people would do it, because you will get to a point in Deep of Night where your relics will gauge your progress. And that's never a good feeling, because you're like, well, the reason I'm losing now is because I can't get better relics. And I don't know how you fix that. Like, I was thinking maybe there should be a relic crafting system. Maybe there should be something. I don't know. And let's say maybe you fight this Night Lord and you can grind materials to craft at least a specific modifier. And you could still make it so that the absolute RNG relics will be the best. But you got to give players some degree of control if they're going to be gating progress this hard, because they do. Now, I've heard that there's apparently a bunch of people complaining that Deep of Night is too hard, yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, we're literally in the first week. I think it's too soon to say whether something is too hard or not. But then again, I'm sure there are plenty of players who've played more matches than me. And, you know, maybe I'm wrong on that, but I just feel like it might be a little bit soon. Let people figure out metas and see how things are changing. Because, for instance, in my case, I was also saying I don't think Guardian is viable. And then I went back and I remade the whole build, and I found, like, you know, I gambled away most of my money to get the new relics. Because you can gamble the, whatever the currency is, I forgot what the name of that currency is. You can gamble it to get new relics and stuff. And I basically tried doing different builds with Guardian and experimenting with what works, what doesn't work. And right now I feel like I have a pretty solid Guardian build. But, you know, I still feel like I would like more control over my relics. But we'll see how things evolve with Deep of Night. I'm super interested to keep progressing it, to keep doing all the things. We're going to be doing more streams of Deep of Night, assuming that my ISPs don't come down and sabotage the damn streams. We should be doing more streams of Deep of Night, because that is just a really fun mode to play, and it's just something that I want to keep doing. So, you know, probably going to be leveling up through the depths at a slower pace than most streamers, because I'm dividing my attention through this, Path of Exile 2, family time with the adaptation of going back to school, and things are giga hectic. But like I said, having a blast with this, so looking forward to more of it. And I hope that they keep supporting it, because I feel that Nightreign is actually one of those titles that initially I wasn't sure if I was going to enjoy or not, but the more I play it, the more it's one of those games that I'm thinking about it when I'm not playing it, right? So, like, for instance, when we had all those defeats in one of the streams, I forget if it was the first one or the second one, whatever, we had a bunch of defeats. And, you know, I walked away from that and I was like, okay, but maybe I can put this thing on the Raider and put this thing on the Guardian, and maybe that can improve. And even some suggestions the chat had, like the counterattack damage based on the amount of HP that you have. And there's also another relic that kind of like reduces the vigor of the Guardian, that increases the strength and dexterity. I think that these are all things that are fun to like think about when I'm not playing the game. And to me, that is a very positive aspect of it. So it's been a blast, but you guys can tell me how you feel about it. But yeah, that